it's difficult to suggest that people should do anything differently, because what the community does already, it does exceptionally well.
The biggest challenge that Bridgetown has currently is that the population isn't growing, and it needs to. Whether rightly or wrongly, in years gone by, some of the wealth that Bridgetown may have created hasn't been used for maintaining infrastructure, and we're feeling that now. We've had a few tax hikes, and I agree with those. I think if you've got to better the town, it's got to be done. You can't keep running around fixing burst water mains. You've got to get the job done and get it all done properly, because it's an ageing town now. But that's got to come from either increased taxes or increasing the number of people you're taxing.
In order for a town or a community to be sustainable, you need to have the population spread out over a lot of the different demographic areas. So we need things going on that are going to A, keep the young people here, and B, attract more young people here who are going to be the business owners and the people to start those initiatives and the people to make the cultural events happen.
I have certainly found it very painful to see families move into Bridgetown and then leave. Sometimes they may be for personal reasons, you never know. But certainly people have come here and have left because they couldn't get the work that they'd hoped to get, or they couldn't have their credentials recognised in a way that would allow them to live and to thrive.
Yeah, our biggest challenge is attracting and keeping families. There's no question that the retention of our schools is probably number one.
And I don't think we would have moved to a town that didn't have a school in it.
A lot of talk about the possibility of one of the, or two of the schools closing in Bridgetown.
Obviously, yeah, that would be bad.
And I feel huge. Like, I don't know if it's just because it's the people we know and it's a coincidence, but I feel like there's a bit of a baby boom going on in Bridgetown. We had a kind of a new person meet and greet last year, and there were 2 to 1 kids to grown-ups.
How can we bring more people in? Do we aim to try and steal people from Halifax, or do we steal people from New Brunswick? Where do we entice people from?
A lot of my best friends have moved away, and when they come home and visit, I would say 95 to close to 100% of them, every time they come, say, man, I wish I could move back here, but...
The initial draw for us, because we didn't know anyone in Bridgetown, was the price. For whatever reason, Bridgetown is really affordable. I think that's a big draw for young families.
Mm.
I could walk to work, I could walk to the bank, I could walk to the post office, I could walk to the grocery store, I could walk to the liquor store, I could walk to the hardware store. And for a small town, a town the size of Bridgetown, to have all that stuff that I could walk to is pretty amazing.
We almost don't need a car here.
Yeah, we only use it once or twice a week, maybe.
I think everybody realizes that, yeah, wages aren't going to be on par with what they are in Alberta. But again, you can live an awesome quality of life here for a lot less.
I feel like we have more here.
Well, we do.
We make way less, but I feel like we have more.
Yeah.
Maybe even target marketing. Where do we pull these people on? What kind of people do we want in town, or what kind of people, what kind of merchants do we want in town?
But there are so many other opportunities that businesses that we haven't even thought of.
This used to be the economic hub of Annapolis County.
We've been through a lot of towns in Nova Scotia, and we haven't found one where there is such a compact and appealing downtown core. And I know that a lot of people in Bridgetown wouldn't think of it as a downtown core, but if you've lived in more rural parts of the province, then it's quite unique to have all these amenities in one spot.
The availability of buildings in town, that's a strength. And it's also an opportunity. So there we go.
We were hearing stories about Britex closing and, you know, the distillery closing. And for me...
Yeah, we didn't realize how long ago that actually happened.
When the timeline actually... I saw it on paper or started piecing it together and realized that this had happened like 30 years ago or, 12 years ago or whatever. I was really surprised.
The land, that's our biggest asset. What are we doing with it? You look at it. It's growing up in weeds.
The question is whether or not business can fill those opportunities on Queen Street by itself, And the answer at the moment, in the short term, seems to be no.
Maybe we need 20 people to each put $5,000 in a co-op style and get a business started.
From me having the idea of my clothing store, I made the first phone call on the 5th of January. I opened the doors less than 10 weeks later. I've been in England for 2 of those weeks. My first business name I registered wasn't accepted, and the first business premises I wanted to have wasn't accepted. And in spite of all those setbacks, it took me 8 weeks to put the thing together. So it really wasn't complicated.
Agriculture, look at Kings County. Fellow got out of tobacco, he went into broccoli and Brussels sprouts and all these things, but they're getting well organized. We need that type of ingenuity here.
Unless they can be self-employed and create their own job opportunity, very limited employment for young people.
There's not a whole lot of professional jobs around Bridgetown. There's not a whole lot of labor and trades jobs and things like that. And I think that's the main reason that people have decided to leave.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have a job in Bridgetown. We're never going to have a job for everybody and every skill set. There's just no way you can do that. Having a bit more diversification in employment would probably help.
The technical world, you can make a living from your household now.
And for our business, Sleeping Forest Studios, we do a lot of sales online. And without that, I mean, we have access to markets in New York and LA and, all over Australia, and our stuff is carried in those places. And they wouldn't
Toronto.
We could live anywhere and have access to that now.
We're seeing more and more things moving automatically to the web that we would consider to be normally in print or delivered to your door.
I love living here. I love being able to look at the Bay of Fundy behind me, but my life would be a lot easier if I had access to high-speed internet. And I can only imagine trying to be a small business owner without it.
We couldn't live here without the internet.
That's true. So, I mean, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to move here.
And listen, we need to be at the head of that at the head of that trend. And I think that type of business is one that we can do quite easily with the right people.
There's great future there, great potential, but you need people who are going to get an idea and exploit it and specialize.
I would like to see another meeting place, another congregation place that wasn't necessarily a pub. Nothing against the pub.
Having an eating establishment or a cafe would help. And I know everybody says the same kind of thing, but it does. People think, well, we can head there, we can wander around the stores, have a bite to eat or a bun and a cup of tea. And
place where you could go and have a coffee and a pastry.
To me, that's like the thing that Bridgetown is screaming for. It's the one thing that I really wish that Bridgetown had was a coffee shop.
And teenagers could go to a coffee shop too.
Sure,
they're not really allowed to go hang out at the pub.